Hi everybody, it's Irene with BrainStormAcres. And today we're going to talk about what you can do if you're not happy with your current tomato plants. Now the other day we got a message from a friend saying, I'm really kind of done with my current tomato plants. She lives in a much warmer climate than we do. They're much more advanced in their season. They're solidly into summer, whereas we're still kind of at the very beginning of it. We've just passed our last frost date, hopefully. We still haven't set out a lot of our tender plants, but she's in Florida and it's been hot there for a long time. And she's got some plants that just have suffered a lot of damage and things like that. One of the things you can do for future years is to specifically try to choose plants that are suited to your climate. For instance, people will say, oh, you can't grow tomatoes in Florida. Well, there are tons and tons and tons of farmers who grow acres of tomatoes in Florida. So obviously you can grow tomatoes in Florida in the summer. But you have to choose varieties that can tolerate the heat, the moisture, the bugs, the diseases, all that sort of stuff. But say you're sitting there now, you've got a plant that you purchased, big box store sort of stuff. You'd really like to replace it. There are no more at the big box store. I'm already seeing here that there's a lot of big box stores that have very few plants left, or if they have them, excuse me. If they have them, they're either really crappy or they're really expensive. I looked at a tiny little plant the other day. No nicer than this little seedling. And they wanted $7 for it. And honestly, I wasn't even sure if it was healthy. I looked at the price just because I was curious, not because I wanted it. But let me show you what you can do if you have indeterminate plants. Now, I was looking at some of these this morning, and some of these have been pruned. You'll hear me talk about pruning tomato plants once in a while, and some of them haven't. But I see a plant over here that has not been pruned that has a really nice sprout on it. So let me zoom in on him. I think that one back there is a determinate. You see the fact that this plant over, let's see, there is kind of shorter and stockier and not producing as many side shoots. You don't prune determinate plants. It will say on those little tags that you buy at the store when you buy them, whether it's a determinate or an indeterminate plant. And what you choose depends totally on you and what you like doing. If you want a plant that will continue to grow and do more stuff, then you want an indeterminate. Now this here is an indeterminate. This is, I think, Granadero? No, this is a Gardener's Delight. Yes, that is a cherry tomato. This sprout can be taken off and rooted and become another plant. Now, over here, this Granadero, same thing. This is the main stem right here. This is a side shoot, and this is a sprout. All I have to do is crack it off. Now, this will see if this one will crack. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I can feel it going. There we go. It does not hurt the plant, but this has the capability of becoming a new plant. So in order to turn this into a new plant, I have two choices. I can either put it in a container of water, or I can take a pot of dirt like this and literally just stick it in there and keep it wet. And in a week or two, that is going to be a new tomato plant. It will have those little hairs on the stem will develop new roots. And you can see this is a pretty healthy looking plant. So if I was trying to work around a plant that had some damage, say like, I've got thrip damage on some of my stuff here. See, that's thrip damage right there. And as these things are planted out, I'm going to be cutting off some of that because a lot of it's on the lower leaves. But I could easily go in here on the granaderos, for instance, and I'm trying to stick with granadero because I don't want to mix my tomato types. Let's see if I find another one. Let's see. Got all different kinds of plants here. Gardener's Delight, that's cherry. This is a granadero. See if he's got any big spikes on him here. There's another one right there. Now that's kind of little, but I can still take it off. And that's a new plant. Now, the advantage to an indeterminate tomato plant is twofold. One, it does give you the capability of growing new tomato plants from those sprouts that come off. Another thing is, say I'm planting this tomato plant, and for some reason this part here gets cracked off. That's the main stem. I could have chosen to let this one that was in the crotch of the leaf here, or like here's an example here. This gets broken off. I could choose to let this be the new leader. And the plant would not have any negative response to that. It would just go, oh, okay. Let's see what this one is back here. That's red pear. Let's see if I want to keep with the granaderos. Where's the granaderos? And the only reason I'm sticking with the granaderos is I want to be able to label a pod. This is an excellent example here. This is an Inca. Here's the main stem, right there. This is a side shoot, and you can see how big it's getting. That will actually form an entirely new plant given the chance. I am, however, not giving it the chance. But this Inca, I'm going to go stick in water. Now this one happens to have flowers on it already, which was not the best choice I could have made. I'm going to actually pluck those flowers off there. I usually try and get any side sprouts taken care of before the flowers start, see? I don't want this plant to develop two heads, which is exactly what this was going to do. I really don't. I'm trying to keep it focused on producing one. Now I can see that this Inca over here has already spread again into two. So these Incas are having a real tendency to do that. I'll have to watch that because this one has already got tomatoes on that sprout, but it's got some well-developed flowers on here, lots more than I want to cut off. But the point is, this can become a tomato. And I can I'll put this in water and stick it in the house. But yeah, that is a tomato, a pseudo tomato, a brand new tomato to be. And that's your cheat for the week. Some of the people who do greenhouse growing with hydroponics will do this. They will literally, as they prune the stuff, all these side shoots come off like this. They go into water. You know, some percentage of them will not make it. Some percentage of them will make it. The ones that make it become the next new plants. So it's an inexpensive, well, free, except for the work, way to get new tomato plants. I hope you find this information useful. I really didn't learn about that until a couple of years ago, to be honest. My mom grew determinate plants, as far as I remember, or we didn't even know there was such a thing as determinate versus indeterminate. I just remember that they were relatively short and stocky most of the time. So every once in a while she'd wind up with some that grew taller and she'd have to trellis them. But it was just not one of those things that we researched, talked about, or anything else. You bought whatever they had at the local hardware store. Now that we're becoming a little more educated, we're trying to take a note from some of the professional growers and get a leg up on this whole process. And not everything the professional growers do is something that I would prefer to do, but I believe in taking the good part of it and leaving the other part that I really I'm not interested in like the heavy duty chemicals. So anyway, have a, scared the heck out of me.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anyway, I hope you find this useful. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and come back and see us because we got all kinds of stuff going on. And whenever I think about it, I'll try and give you guys more tips. I mean, you know, like I said, I didn't learn some of this stuff until just a couple of years ago. So I might as well pass it on. I'll bet somebody else out there doesn't know it either. So have a great week, be safe, and until then, bye.